Welcome to the MMHP and the 989, channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history.
Hello, Michigan music lovers. This is Scott Baker. I want to welcome you to the Michigan Music History Podcast. I am flanked by Michigan music royalty. To the left, Dr. J. To the right, Sir Fred. We cut from just around the block of the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame in Bay City, Michigan, here at Studio 163 in Essexville. And now it's time to grab a favorite beverage, hit the cruise, and take a trip back with us through Michigan's rich music history.
This podcast is sponsored by our friends at Electric Kitsch, located at 2106 Kosciuszko Avenue in Bay City, Michigan. And now, here's your host, Scott Baker.
And here we are back in the middle of a cold winter of January. I don't know when this is coming out, but I can tell you right now, it is one of the coldest days of one of the coldest weeks we've had in a long time. How are you doing, Dr. J? You're in the house?
Yes, indeed. Trying to stay warm.
Oh, Sir Fred, how's it going?
Going good.
Oh, man. We got super special guest, one of the rarest records, most collectible albums, and the man is out of Bay City, and he's still alive to tell the story.
And it's still making money.
Mr. Timmothy Ward, with two M's, they say. How you doing, Tim?
Well, pretty good.
Good. We brought in a couple of our friends tonight. Of course, Mr. Mike Beatty's here videotaping, and he's going to definitely ask some questions in between. And we got Jordan from the Electric Kitsch, our sponsor here. He's going to be here. He took care of some of the CDs for Tim, because Tim didn't even have a copy of it on CD himself. So thank you, Jordan, for doing that, by the way.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. J, anything new?
Well, the project's nearing completion. We had to push back the opening until March. We had a major snag with the projector for the video component. Got tied up in the supply chain issues that's affecting everybody in the United States and around the world. We did get a replacement projector in a couple days ago. We haven't tested out how the video is going to look in there, but we didn't want to open until we had the video component is all set to go. My son and I put together a 76-minute time capsule video of the 60s and 70s to a Motown soundtrack that I think is going to blow your mind when you see it.
That's cool.
It was actually taken from a couple videotapes that I've had around for years. We changed it to the digital domain and put it up on Vimeo, and I think it's ready to go. It's just a matter of getting things set up in the gallery and making sure that everything works well. But most of the materials are up on the wall, and still got a few things to do, but it's looking pretty good.
So Brennan work out of New York or New Jersey?
New Jersey,
where he's at?
Yeah, and we've got an interactive tribute to the Twilight Zone that we put together also. This one is one of the things that will change periodically, trying to highlight kind of strange Michigan rock and roll stories. The first one's going to deal with the mysterious death of Del Shannon. So
we get to do some digging there.
Yeah,
I like this. I like how this is operating
Yeah.
so far. Well, that's good. March. You're thinking March.
I'm going to do a presentation on March 12th on second Saturday on the Frankie Lyman tombstone. I've got, I think we mentioned the book that's coming out. It's called Frankie Lyman's Tombstone Blues. And that it's just a fascinating story. And just like the tombstone, it's something I just kind of fell into by accident, story that's never been told before, which kind of rare in the rock and roll realm, especially with somebody's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like Frankie Lyman. So anyways, we got a lot of things going, and March is probably going to be a pretty exciting month.
Oh, excellent. You got a lot in the works, Fred, eh? I hear you said something about, was it Sonny Stitt? You doing a...
Yep, March 22nd at noon, I'm doing a lecture PowerPoint presentation on Sonny Stitt.
Where at?
Castle Museum.
Saginaw?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I was listening to some Sonny after you said that. I haven't heard him in a while, and holy crap, man. Some fine jazz, man.
I'm trying to find lots of photographs that I have that I've collected throughout the years that haven't been seen yet.
Oh, wow. So you're looking for photos. So anybody tuning into this podcast, if you
I have
know
tons of them. But
yeah. Okay. You're going through your own archives then.
Well, I have actually Sonny Stitt's personal photographs.
Really?
Wow.
It's a long story.
That's cool, man.
But they came in a little bag, and it's a long story.
Yeah.
My ex-wife and blah, blah, blah.
Well, when it comes time for the Sonny Stitt episode coming up here, we're going to have to do some talking about it.
I mean, we need you to tell that story, Fred.
Yeah. That's a nice little... huge canon, man. That's something huge for our area. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been working on my book a lot lately since I don't have a car. I've been finding out new groups that I go, oh, shoot, now I got to add that one. Like today, I forgot about, and I remember the band called Wax Radish. My friend Mike Faubert was in it, but he lives in Nashville now, and I don't know how to get a hold of him. And Chris Correll, who later played with Michael Jackson from Saginaw, he was in it. So it must have been, just those two guys makes it interesting enough.
Oh. And you said...
Well, Chris went with Question Mark, too.
Oh, okay.
In his later bands. After Bobby.
Oh. I don't think that book's going to get done anytime soon.
No, this year. It's gotta come out this year.
Wow. And then you were telling us on the private about Meatloaf being a part of your book, and we sadly lost him over the past week here.
Well, it was weird. The day before he passed away, or that I read about it, I was just finishing up the chapter on the Popcorn Blizzard. Well, on Pete and Susie Woodman, actually. And then the next morning I wake up, and on Facebook, the first thing I see that he passed. So I got to go back in now and put, he died.
Ironically, too, we were going to be joined tonight, Tim, by your old bass player buddy who goes all the way back with you, Mr. Lane Valere, who is going to hopefully come on a future episode. He said, he's got so many ties to our area, he'd fit in somewhere. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it because we've already delayed this podcast. But he did tell me, sorry he couldn't make it. He has a previous appointment. Too bad to hear about my old buddy Meatloaf from high school band I played with before Timm. I opened for them in the Popcorn Blizzard with Pete Woodman, and Meatloaf was in a bar in a corner in State Park Drive and Beaver Road that's no longer there, out by Putt Golf and all that. And he says he used to spend some time with Meatloaf before he hopped along with you, Tim. So that was pretty crazy little story he added to the whole mix there.
Yeah, he's got some very interesting...
anecdotes,
stories, or anecdotes, or however you want to describe them.
Well, that takes us to our first question for you. Your band's from Essexville. You came out of Garber, and
we started Essexville.
Did you guys do some gigs with Popcorn Blizzard and all that back then too? Or?
We did not.
No, what was that band again?
The Ides of March.
The Ides of March, and we've mentioned that in previous podcasts.
When did that form, Tim? Do you know the year? Do you remember?
Oh, jeez.
I got here 65.
65 generally sounds correct.
Were you going to Garber at that time?
We were going to Garber. All of us were going to Garber.
Yeah, because that was, I think Garber opened the 64-65 school year. So it would have been the fall of 64 that it started, until June of 65. Well, that was the first year.
Yes.
And then, went on from there. So what grade were you in? At
ninth.
Or so you started right in the ninth grade?
Right in the ninth grade.
All right. You would have typically went to Bay City Central before.
Typically, I would have gone to Bay City Central, where most of the people I knew did go. It depends on who picked them up or whatever.
Yeah, and a lot of times it depended on how far along at Central you were.
Mm-hmm.
I know my wife's best friend, that would have been her senior year. She lived in Essexville. Mignon Weber was her name back then.
Mm-hmm.
Lived on Hart Street, the same street I live on in Essexville. But yeah, you're not going to go to Garber in your senior year,
No.
at Central. So you were a guitar player. Did you take lessons at that time? Were you taking lessons?
I took probably, if we want to count them, I probably took about 35 or 40 lessons, just how to read notes on guitar. And
so did you take it at a music store or from another guitar player?
no, it was another guitar player, and he was a guitar teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did.
Now all the band members, I knew Scott Ebright.
Oh, you did?
Well, actually, he was the little brother. He's got two twin brothers that are my age, Don and Ron. Mm-hmm. And at that time that I knew Scott is when they lived in Bay City on Park Avenue.
No, I never knew him then.
Yeah, see, then they moved. I'm not sure what year it was. Well, it would have been probably 60, must have been 64 or 63 or 64.
That sounds about
They
right.
moved to Essexville on Pine Street.
Yes.
And, then we kind of, wasn't quite as convenient to hang around with Don and Ron as it was, when they were just a block away. We
It was
spent
very
a lot of time.
convenient for us
Yeah,
to go over
right.
to his house and practice.
Sure, sure. So, what inspired you guys to start a band?
I saw the Beatles on TV one Sunday night, and I said, I want to do that. And I went out and I got some buddies from high school, and we went up to one of my guitarist's bedrooms and started playing. He had an amp, he had electric guitar. We all needed electric guitars and we needed amps. And of course that cost a lot of money, especially back in those days.
Yeah.
They're cheap junk nowadays, but back then they were very valuable. And we stuck to it. And then it blossomed from this person to the next person to the next person. Members of the band and their skills at playing guitar.
Sure.
And
Do you remember your first gig? Did you play like a party or a school dance or something like that?
Played a school dance at Garber, obviously. And the kids seemed to like us. And we went on from there. And then, of course, you play another gig. And then you play another one. And then you play at a different school. And they like you too, and that word spreads.
Now, how did you get your gigs? Did you have a manager or?
No, I always wanted a manager. Then later on, I had my brother join me in the band.
That would have been at the Blues Company, though, right?
No.
No, still Ides of March.
That's the Ides of March.
Oh, yeah. He was the singer, right?
He was he was the singer. That was his label.
Okay.
Wasn't all that good a singer, but
Which brother?
Scotty,
What's his name?
Robert.
Robert.
Or
Bob. I met Bob with you the day I met you, a few weeks back, a month ago.
That's right. He
Bob
was at
there.
my house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
he
what I
comes
thought.
over all the time, and we reminisce and go through all this junk.
Go ahead and keep telling your story though. I wanted to make sure that was Bob though.
Yeah, it was Bob.
Okay.
And it just blossomed after that, and then the Blues Company, and that's when we had our record, our 45s. Now we did 45s as the Ides of March.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that.
Till we got a letter from Chicago
Oh, okay.
that said, hey, The Ides of March, that name is used. We already own that name. So we said, well, what are we going to do? And at that time, and then it explodes even more because my brother went to Michigan State. He graduated from high school and went to Michigan State. So I lost Bob, and he's the one that managed us at that time, too.
Okay.
And he was a good booking agent.
All right.
Always has been and probably always will be.
So he was a little older than you guys. Did he drive
1 year
the band
older
around?
than me.
Oh, okay.
But you're right. He had a driver's license, and I didn't. So he's the one that carted us all over the thumb, and we played every little city in the thumb, over and over again. And it was a pretty cool situation, let's put it that way.
Well, Scott Ebright put up a single that you guys put out. It was, I'm trying to think, I wrote it down here so I didn't forget it.
Life has been so good.
Yeah, and maybe 5x5 Playthings.
Yes, both those songs were on that record.
And where did you record that? Scott said it cost $27.50 to record it.
That was done in Bay City. What was the name of the studio? Can't quite remember.
It wasn't Shield Studio.
Oh,
was it?
yes, it was Shield Studio.
Oh, wow. There we go.
How about that?
There's another one.
There we go.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
That's one I didn't know about.
It was Shields.
And then you had 45s pressed.
And we had them pressed.
Did Shield do that for you? Was that part of the deal?
No. I don't know where we had them pressed. Well, obviously at Wasso,
Okay.
because that's where everybody had their 45s
Right.
pressed.
Yeah, American Record Pressing.
Yep.
Okay, well, that was really cool. Now, Scott said you guys entered in the Battle of the Bands also at Rollaire, right?
Yes, at Rollaire Rink, and we won it. And that kind of boosted the Ides of March, let's put it that way.
So with
Then
that,
we started getting a lot of gigs.
that would have been the summer of '67, I'm guessing?
Oh, God, it's got to be, yeah, right in that era.
Because I know the Intruders won in '66.
And then, who's the other band that won one of them?
Well, the Del Reys won the first one.
Yeah, that sounds
Then the
familiar.
Motor City Bonnevilles won in '65 when Question Mark and the Mysterians were in the final.
Okay.
So it had to be '67 for you guys.
Yeah, I would say 67.
And then Bob leaves the band, goes to Michigan State.
Goes to Michigan State. But he booked me. I was going to say, well, then he booked the band I was in, but he didn't. He was booking me personally. And that went on for quite some time. And
Was that still under the Ides of March at the time?
at the very beginning, it was still the Ides of March.
And was that win at the Battle of the Bands what put you on the map in Chicago? For them to write you and say, hey, cease and desist?
I think that's what did it.
Really?
I think that's what did it. Yeah. Is they said, wait a minute, man. We're losing, or I think they were under Columbia at that time, the label. And I think they said, wait a minute. Now these guys got a record out and it's doing not too bad. So what are we supposed to do? Just sit on our hands? Of course, they had a major hit and a very good song, by the way, too, with the horns and all that stuff.
But their first charting hits, that was way before Vehicle. They
oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had a couple top 100 hits back in 1966.
Yes, they did. Yeah, it wasn't a vehicle was a major.
Yeah, that was really big. But that was early 70s.
That's
sometime.
big time right
Yeah, really.
there.
As I remember, that was after Chicago hit, and the vehicle kind of sounded like Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that had that horn band sound. And
Yeah.
it was a big, big hit for him. So then you formed Blues Company after Ides of March kind of
After
falls
the
apart?
Ides of March falls. Yeah, well, because Bob left and I was introduced to a drummer called Hamilton Roth, who I thought was just, holy shit, man. Listen to this guy. You know, and a bass player. And Tom Jurek was his name. And between those two guys, we formed a three-man group. And three-man groups back in those days, they were taken off.
The power trio,
You got Jimmy and
Cream and
Cream.
Well, really, the Who was,
In
three
the Who.
instruments,
Yeah.
plus the singer, but
The Third Power, Detroit band. Anyone?
Third Power, right?
Yeah, that's
Well, there was Dick Rabbit in Bay City too. They were a band that played out of Delta Promotions, but they played down at the Grandie.
Dick Rabbit.
Yeah, in
Forgot
fact,
about that. You've mentioned that. And I never-
Dick Rabbit claims that they inspired Farner and Brewer to form a power trio.
I forgot about him.
It wouldn't have been Third Power. It would have been Dick Rabbit.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
Dick Rabbit is a trio. They were
That's
three
cool.
brothers, the Thayer brothers.
That's cool.
Wasn't Ursa Major that Dick Wagner band?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a trio
That
too?
was a little after that.
That was
yeah.
a little later, but right,
Yeah.
that was another power trio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
a real
had,
big deal.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what fascinates me, I wanted to ask you about this with the Blues Company is your first single you recorded with Dave Kalmbach at the Great Lakes Recording Studio.
Mm-hmm. I don't know who the engineer was.
It might have been Kalmbach himself. I don't know.
Yeah.
He might have done everything. But I was curious, because most of all, he recorded all these 60s garage band songs, but almost all of them were no further east than Lansing. They were mostly in the Grand Rapids, Battle Creek area. And here you guys were from Bay City. As far as I know, that's the band Blues Company would have been the farthest away from the Great Lakes Recording Studio of any band that recorded there. How did you hear about Kalmbach? Do you remember that?
Well, actually, we selected the studio by just going into the yellow pages and putting our fingers down the page and say, let's try recording here. Let's see if it's affordable for us. Because we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
You know, and
How would that have come up in the phone books up here?
I'm not sure.
Well, they do
It was
sometimes.
there.
I looked up something like that once, and they had like Archer Pressing down in Detroit.
Oh, okay.
So that would probably be like an advertisement rather than a number in the white pages.
It
Probably
could have been.
so just kind of like, hey, we'll sell ads. So they could have come across an ad up here.
Yeah, well, would have been pretty small, though. It probably would have been just a phone number. And I don't think that would have cost very much.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause I don't think Kalmbach was making a great deal of money, from this operation.
Where was that at? Where was Comeback at?
It was in a theater
In what town?
in Sparta, Michigan.
Sparta.
the studio
Yeah,
was
and
in a theater.
yeah.
It was the coolest studio I think I've ever played in. Let's put it that way. Because everything was so open. And, and he had all the sound defeats, going out there. And I don't know who the engineer was, but he was an excellent engineer. And he also... he put on one of our records, our later records, the swoosh sound, where it sounds like it's going.
Flange.
A flange.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what he put on there, a flange. But he had to do it by taking 2 tape machines, running them together, and then I don't know how he did it. But we heard that sound and we said, put it on it.
Yeah, I'm sure that was Combach because he was also he was big on double tracking vocals.
Oh, yeah.
Too on his records. Yeah, pretty fascinating guy, you know.
You listen to our first, She's Gone, I think, was the name of the first one we did. Not the one that actually sold. The other one was
Experiment in Color.
Experiment in Color, which was about my drummer's sister, who was black, and she married a white guy.
Okay.
That's the Experiment in Color.
All right, because, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen this collection called Scream Loud, the Fenton story. It was a collection, a 2 CD collection of 61 songs that Combach recorded. And it's got your first single with the Blues Company, both sides. She's Gone and Experiment in Color. And the guy that wrote the liner notes, he thought that Experiment in Color was a drug lyric.
Yes, that's what everybody said. In fact, when they started playing it on the radio, and they did, believe me, I know we're just a little shit band, but it got airplay. And that's what everybody thought. Experiment in color. Well, color, you know,
Yeah, sure.
LSD
Right,
and
drug
all
trip.
that crap.
Yeah, wow. Now, you know, again, shortly thereafter, I found an article in the Bay City Times about your band. I don't know if you remember that one. It came out in September.
Ooh, which one was it?
Well, it was 1968, and it was called Local Band Going Big Time.
Yeah.
And it quoted your brother, and it quoted you. Kind of
Really?
described your brother described your music as a cross between the message songs of the Beatles and the playing or the instrumentation of Cream.
That sounds like Bob.
Yeah, pretty heady praise there.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like Bob. He was always promoting me.
Yeah. Well, and it mentioned in the article that you guys did some instrument destruction, bashing the drums and smashing guitars.
Now,
on
that
stage.
cost me a lot of money.
I was going to say, that's very expensive.
That was not good.
So you guys did that regularly, or is that just once in a while?
No, we actually planned on it. This was at Daniel's Den. That was the big spot back in those days.
Right.
But me and Tom said, my bass player, Tom Jerry, and I don't know what happened to him. We weren't on anything. I mean, LSD was a big deal back then, but we weren't on anything. I took my, I was right in the middle of a song, and I was playing real hard and all this stuff, and I think I broke a string. Now that pissed me off. You know, you're right in the middle of a song and you break a damn string, you know. And then I just took my guitar right over the railing, because they had a railing right there. They put us in the railing area, not even on stage. And I just took it and slammed it into the gate and broke the damn thing in half.
What was the reaction of the crowd? That must have really been something.
Oh,
to
they
see.
thought that was just cool as hell, man. And look at this guy. What a nut. I would have paid him, you know, $200 for that guitar, and that's what he does with it.
Boy, that's right out of the movie Blow Up with Jeff Beck. You know, the same thing happened. That was part of the script in the movie. Breaks a string and smashes his guitar.
Which band was that played for that
That was the blues company.
That was the blues company. Okay.
All of our major.
Okay. Well, when you said your brother, when Gary said your brother Bob was talking in the story, I'm thinking maybe that was the Ides of March because I thought maybe he had left at that point. So
No.
Okay.
Bob stuck with us and booked us for a couple of years, I think.
So how many singles or 45s are out there for Ides of March and Blues Company?
Ides of March, there should only be 4.
So there's 4 45s floating around out there? You got the numbers on those, Fred? You know which ones are floating around?
No, I only have one.
Holy cow. I didn't think you released that many that early, I guess.
Well,
Maybe, no, that sounds correct to me.
yeah, there's only
Just
2
one.
songs on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
So one?
One record.
One's 45 for Ides of March.
145 for the Ides of March. Blues Company, we had a few.
At least 2 45s are out there?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the article mentioned one that was coming out. Let me see, what was it? It had a strange.
Love Machine.
Oh, You're Dead, My Friend.
Oh, yeah.
You're Dead, My Friend, and I'm Coming. Those were the 2 that were mentioned in the Bay City Times article.
And I hope you never have to hear them.
Okay, You're Dead, My Friend. Such an unusual title. Do you remember what was that
That's
about?
unusual, all right. But it was, those were bad. Those were just damn bad. I think that's when I started thinking, Tim, why don't you just write some songs and go out on your own?
This podcast is sponsored by our friends at Electric Kitsch, located at 2106 Kosciuszko Avenue in Bay City, Michigan. They offer new and used records, including local to Michigan original vinyl and CDs, as well as clothing, electronic equipment, funky household items, music gear, and stringed instrument repair. You can find them on the web or call 989-402-1411.
Was that when you got the bug to go solo?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it actually was.
That's interesting. And are those songs on YouTube, like the March one?
I'm pretty sure You're Gone and Experiment in Color are, and those were both written by Timm. And that's really a good 2-sided single.
That's cool.
That's
something I've never
songs
heard.
Are really good. Yeah,
Wow.
Check them out. Well, both of those are on the Scream Loud collection that I was telling you about, of all these songs that Dave Kalmbach produced on his studio. But yeah, those 2 songs are highlights on that album. And there's a lot of really good garage band 45s in that collection.
I got to track that collection down.
Yeah, it's great.
Wow.
How did you come up with Blues Company? With the name?
Yeah, because you weren't really a blues band.
No, we weren't even close to a
Right.
blues band. But I don't know. I just came up with it. We were just sitting there thinking, we got to come up with a name for this band. And that sounded good. And back in those days, also, the name didn't really mean that much to the character of the band or the material that you play. It really didn't. If you go back and you start thinking about it, it didn't.
Yeah, I can think of. We remember that band, Blues Image.
Oh, yeah.
Ride, Captain Ride.
Oh, yeah.
You know, wasn't really a blues band.
Right.
Although they may have had some blues numbers, I guess.
Right.
It's a fantastic album, that debut. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
it's
but
good
that
work.
was such a great song. I mean, whoa.
Yep. Excellent. So you decided at the end of this run here and all the good shows you have been playing to go solo. Mm-hmm. How long did you go out on your own and before you decided to cut that first debut record?
A couple months.
Oh, just a couple months, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't
It was a quick-
performing that much.
Okay.
So I said,
Did you upset the band members at the time? I see that you still had Ham play on your record here, but he was still part of it. He was in.
Ham was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously he was still cool with you going flying solo and all.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And that's when Lane came into your world. I see Lane's on
Then
here. I'm amazed. Yeah.
Lane came in, and he did a fantastic job for being told on a Wednesday night, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, and I said, well, Lane, you're going to have to play bass guitar now.
Was he playing regular guitar with you?
Regular guitar, yeah. And I think we went down to the music store the next day, and I can't remember if we bought him a guitar or we rented it. I'm pretty sure we just rented it. Excuse me. But he did a good job on it, you know.
How long were those songs put together, I guess, coming out of the blues company? You know, you decided to go solo. Were you already have a stockpile of songs, or did you?
No, I actually sat down and started writing songs. I knew I could write some of this material. You know, all you got to do is put words down on paper and do a melodic singing. You know,
And you had two good bands to already get out there enough. You already knew what you were doing, so you just started rocking out songs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I read a review once where they called it psychedelic folk.
Your record, your debut.
And I couldn't. I said, "What in the hell is psychedelic folk now?"
Yeah.
So you're saying "Strange But True," the psychedelic folk album here that he's talking about, the one that we were kind of focusing on here, that was written within a couple months, all the tracks, and
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's when you said to your buddy Lane, I need you on bass, and
Yep.
you called up Ham, Tom Funt, Don Scherzer on bass as well. Had Larry Hadsel and Terry Bledecki on leads.
I know. I know Larry Hadsel.
Do you? Where is he now?
Matter of fact, the last Gilmore Brothers reunion that we did about 3 years ago, he came and played the fiddle.
Oh, he was extremely talented. I mean,
yeah.
he could play all kinds of instruments, but he was good.
Yeah. Still is.
When you performed as a solo, Tim, you actually had a band behind you, or did you just go out, and play guitar and sing?
I tried to get a band behind me, or as many musicians as I could, to back me up, because for one thing, I knew I was not a great singer, and I needed that in order to kind of put me in a higher light than just me sitting there banging on a guitar singing.
Well,
I knew that wasn't going to cut it.
Did you do the lead vocals on the Blues Company records, though?
Yes.
Okay, because your vocals were pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, I did all the vocals on the Blues Company.
Okay.
And I wrote all the songs, too.
Yeah.
So you pounded this record together, got your band for the studio.
Yes.
And it came out in 1972.
Yep.
According to Lane, when I was talking to him off on Messenger, he said that he believes you guys went to the other side of the state to record this record. Do you remember where you went to record it, and how did that come about?
Let's see. I'm pretty sure we went to Grand Rapids.
That's what he thought.
And I think
Kalmbach was involved in that one, too?
I think so. Yes.
So you went back to Combat then?
Yep.
Okay. Fantastic. I didn't know that. It's interesting. I mean, the whole reason that this came up a few episodes ago, actually, when Jordan was here, is this Strange But True albums you put out on your own little label, Pear Records.
Yes.
That's your own
That's my
imprint.
own.
You made this all out of the house. You printed 300 copies.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are in 2022, and some of them are going for just under $1,000 on eBay and all that, and Discogs. And
Yes.
fantastic treasure, and it got reissued in 2001 on Rockadelic Records.
Rockadelic. I was trying to think of that.
I was just reading it here.
So did one of those come in the shop? Jordan, is that how you got involved in this?
No, that's Tim's record.
No, he means originally. Remember when you brought up the story that you had heard about it during your podcast? How did you hear about Tim's album?
Oh, from a former acquaintance of mine who was just an avid record collector.
Yeah.
And we would just pull out, or he would just pull out boxes of records, and Yeah, one of them happened to be yours. So that was about 8 years ago.
That's what got me to sell the rights to reprint that album, because I heard it was selling quite well in Florida.
That's where I sold my copy.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, it's a hot commodity, and you know, Jordan being tuned into the music underground, Fred, he's a Discogs collector, you know, of world music, but all this, he's had record stores like Jordan has, and over the years, your album's been one of those particular ones that, as you say, has come back around to be one of those little treasures that people are digging up, the homemade albums, you know, and
it was an amazing thing to hear this stuff from other people, because you sit at home and you can listen to your album all day long, you know, and as loud as you want or as soft or what. But then I heard, but they're selling them. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? They're selling them. They're selling them in Florida is what they said.
who told you that?
The guy that bought the contract for the album.
Oh, the Rockadelic Records guy.
Yeah.
He got a hold of you. He tracked you down.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't get repressed before that? Like in Germany?
I don't think so, no. I don't know
Unless
where
it was bootlegged or something. Because
I don't know if they repressed it. But I know he needed a finite copy of it. You know, because I didn't have the masters. I didn't have the tapes. So the only thing I had was the original plastic disc.
The one that's in here, in this package right here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then he sent it back with his copy. And then you said they only printed 300 in 2001 of that one?
I think they only printed 300.
So there's only 600 total out there. The original 3 and the reprint. And possibly bootlegs out of Germany, which totally makes sense. I mean, come 90s, Germany was the bed of the bootlegs back then.
Right.
And that could very well be. We'd have to go into Discogs and see what's in there on that.
Yeah,
Well, it doesn't say on there because Discogs or eBay will allow bootlegs.
That's true. Sometimes people talk about it, though. I'll read the fine print, you know.
Right.
So, Tim, your songs here that obviously have stood the test of time, tell us a little bit about what you went into writing this. Did you want a different image? Did you want a different feel? Obviously, it's more acoustic a little bit, but still rocking. What was your thought process for doing that record?
I just wanted to... which one?
Strange But True.
I just wanted to write the music. If it sounded good to me, I said, it's got to sound good to somebody else out there.
All right.
Yeah. So did you go out in 72, 73 and just play shows wherever you could then and sell those records? Or how did that go?
No, I didn't. As a matter of fact, I think I stopped performing then because it just seemed like I wasn't getting anywhere. Nobody was interested. Nobody was interested in my material.
And now it's so collectible.
Yeah.
And now people are collecting.
Wow. So you quit playing. You just got a job and got out of the scene, eh?
Yeah. I was controls engineer to start with, and that's how I ended.
Wow.
When they
Bay City?
fired me.
In Bay City?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
RWC.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, they told me to hit the road.
So what happened to the 300 records sitting around? Did you off them at Fred's store, or do you remember what you did to get rid of them? How did they get some put back out for sale? Did you just put them in record stores for sale and just leave them there?
Yes. I remember once it was at Lucky's Records, and I don't know if it was my wife or my girlfriend. But anyway, she dropped off 50 copies of the album. Then we went back to pick up the money for the albums, and they weren't there. They were gone.
Lucky's was gone, or your records were gone? Or what?
Lucky's stock of the album was gone.
And they paid you, though, right?
And they never paid me. I don't know what happened there.
That would have been when Bill Tacey was running Lucky's, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it was Lucky Peplinski. Is this what you're talking in the 70s, right? Or,
Yes.
Yeah, see, that Tacey owned it by then. Lucky, the original owner had sold out.
Well, whoever was running the place, they just said, no, we just don't have any copies of that left. It sold out as soon as we got them. And then I said, holy shit, this is a popular album.
Wow. But it's crazy. They just had a gentleman's contract with you, and they didn't come through to pay you for what you brought them.
No.
Damn.
They did not.
Yeah, you know, this is kind of like a local version of the Sixto Rodriguez
True
thing, isn't it?
True.
You know?
Yeah.
Just like years later that...
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So you worked all those years, and then you came back in the 90s here, and I've got your CDs in front of me. I see you put your own little project studio together in your basement, and you started going to town.
Yep. Then I really went on the writing craze.
Throughout the 90s? Into the aughts? Yep.
I have one of your CDs, Timmothy Ward.
That one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That's one.
I think that was the first one, right?
I don't think so, but I think it was one of the best ones.
Neither of those? Was that the first one? Was Orbits? Orbits is one of the more newer ones, right?
No. Orbits is not.
That's an older one?
Yep.
Is that the first one? Oh, 2007. But that was a reissue probably, or a reprint.
Mm-hmm.
Did you record anybody else in your studio? I know Lane was in a band called Dynamo Hum, wasn't he? Or am I mistaken?
Oh, but that was
later.
Real earlier. A lot earlier.
Oh, before you had your studio? Okay.
Before I even had songs up.
Oh, okay.
So when you went and did these projects, I know Lane's on some of them because he told me, and you told me that he come over and cut some bass. You even put out one not too long ago, about 12, 13 years ago, with the covers.
I think that's the good one. Yeah, that's got cover songs on it.
Yeah, you did cover songs throughout the most. And then some originals, too. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's a good record. That's called Who's Rocking You Now? It Sure Ain't Me.
What's some of the songs that Tim covered?
All Over Now by the Stones, Be So Nice, John Sebastian, Who's Rocking You Now, which is his own, Coconut by Nielsen.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple originals.
Came
And then
out real good.
You did Shanny by Jonathan Edwards.
Yeah.
And then the rest were yours, which were like Louisiana and Karen, a couple of the tracks that were on previous CDs. Mm-hmm. The T.M. Ward, Midland Street. Was it Midland Street? Yeah.
Yeah.
Midland Street album, your Orbits album, and I thought this was a really good record. I found a lot of good little diamonds in this one on the Horizontal Rain album. There's really some deep stuff on here. I thought we've given them all a listen. But you were quite productive in the 90s into the aughts. And how did that do? Did you do any shows? Because I don't remember. I started playing out during that period. And,
Nope.
Haven't been doing it, huh? So you've kind of been put yourself out away from the live scene since 71, 72 then?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I have not performed, I don't think, since, 71 or 72.
Wow. Well, no, when we were talking about the Ides of March.
That's because nobody wants me.
Well, you said that, but you're doing what you want to do, and it's selling, It's making some kind of buzz, or at least the old stuff is, Mm-hmm. When you shared the stage with other bands, what are some of the bands that you enjoyed playing with back then? Whether it was Ides of March or Blues Company or your first solo thing, who was some of your favorites?
We did a gig with Bobby Seeger when he was just starting. Who did Respect?
Aretha?
No, the Rationals.
Oh,
The Rationals, yeah.
Yeah.
And we actually met them. That's because that's the year we won the Battle of the Bands.
Okay.
And we had to actually share the trailer with them. So,
Wow.
Yeah, the Rationals were riding pretty high right then in 67, you know. They just had respect, and yeah, that's a band I always thought could have, you know, if the breaks would have been, you know, the right way. You know, they had the great vocalist, Scott Morgan. I mean, man.
yeah, he
I know
was
him
good.
well. On Discogs, anyways, they have Timothy, and then they have Timm Ward, and they're not connected. So it might help sell those CDs because Timothy is so collectible.
If he added the second M nowadays, which he doesn't, like back in the day, because now it's just Timm. I wonder if he would have added the second M. Yeah.
Well, the other one is just Timothy. I don't
Yeah.
think
This one right
there's
here.
no Ward on there, is there?
No, it's just Timothy. Yeah.
That one, that was the first one. And that will just be Timothy.
Right.
Strange But True. I thought the Strange But True stood out more than the name, actually. I could care less about the
Well,
name.
it made me look up psychedelic folk. I had I go, what in the hell is psychedelic folk?
Well, you know, actually, I heard that term
did?
just recently from Dennis Lauren, the poster artist, when he was describing the music of the Grateful Dead and the Jefferson Airplane. I think maybe earlier on, he described it as, you know, kind of a psychedelic folk rock.
Especially those earlier Dead ones where they were doing the ritzy acoustic stuff.
Yeah, well, the Airplane started out as more of an acoustic band. You know, and their first album is really kind of it sounds like folk rock. You know, the Jefferson Airplane takes off. That's before Grace joined. That's when they had. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the name of the original female lead singer there. She was just on the first album only.
She passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I did on the psychedelic folk, anyways. Neil Young. They were
Oh, yeah.
describing.
That's what a lot of people, they would hear my name in a conversation or whatever. Oh, yeah, he's the guy that imitates. This person said Neil Young.
Oh,
And he sounds kind of like him, too.
well, that's not a bad compliment, though.
No, it isn't.
Look at it that way.
No, I thought that was pretty cool.
Did you ever do any Buffalo Springfield Neil Young songs in your live set back when you played?
Back when I was performing, yeah.
Wow. So that would have been sounding pretty darn good. You would have.
It was pretty good. Tell you the truth.
Tim, I got to take you back because, you know, like I said, I had exchanged a number of emails with Scott Ebright, and I think he had sent me an email, a copy of an email he had sent to you about an incident when you guys were in the Ides of March, and you were playing a gig. He couldn't remember where it was, but he said some girls were kind of flirting with the band. And when you guys were breaking down after the gig, you got threatened by some of the locals.
Yes.
And it was kind of a scary scene. They brought a couple of carloads of guys.
Yep.
And it looked like you guys were about to take an ass whooping there. And and then was it you who pretended to have
a seizure?
A seizure.
Yeah.
Can you kind of describe this for us? That was such a great story.
It was just so ridiculous. And we always responded to the young men who had the girls out there. And of course the girls they're attracted to the band members. So these girls came out to see us after the show. And their guys were all out there, and they're all like in their tufts. We're gonna get you guys, you know. And we were so used to it that I said, I've just about had it with you people. You know, I don't know why you would come after us. Why? I mean, we're the wimps of the world were the band, for God's sakes. But they did. And then all of a sudden I started opening and closing my eyes. And then I think I fell back or whatever, and then I started to quiver and all this. Scared the bejesus out of these guys. But they deserved it.
Yeah,
Leave us alone. We're not trying to hurt you or anything. Just because you're girls like us, they're attracted to the band, and...
Yeah, Scott said, he told the guy, if he dies, you guys are going to be charged with murder.
Yeah, I think he did.
And then, of course, they all peeled out, freaking out.
Yeah.
That was just such a great story.
They disbanded. But it's a true story.
Yeah. And I'm sure, that's probably happened to a lot of bands, where you end up afterward, back in those days. And then
we worried about it.
Somebody wants to fight you, because their girlfriend was looking at somebody in the band or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's all it took.
Yeah.
That's all it took is one chick to say, I like that guy. And then turn to her boyfriend and say, I like that guy. Well, we're going to beat the shit out of him when the show is over. Oh, leave me alone, for God.
Well, at least nobody was packing a gun back in those days.
No, we didn't ever have to deal with any of that shit.
Yeah, that's...
But the fighting thing
the fighting was kind of a big deal back in those days.
Yeah, it was. Funny, actually.
I wanted to ask you, too, before we fly out, and I want to get Jordan's impression on this as well. We were talking about the Rockadelic Records reprint, the 300 that they did of Strange But True. When they tracked you down, was it out of the blue, or how did that come about? Tell us a little bit about it.
It was out of the blue.
Out of the blue. Just they got your number and...
Guy had my number. I think he bought one of the albums in Florida.
Wow.
And he said, yeah, this is a hot seller down here, man. And I could sell 300 of those within a week. And to tell you the truth, I think he did.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember he told me, go on. Let's see, what did he tell me? What was the thing he told me to do? And he said, you'll see how much money it is, but I think it's more expensive than a Beatles album.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me. So I looked it up, and it was like...
This had to be later after the print, though, because 2001 was just the start of the internet there. I mean, it was just firing in pretty good.
This is later. This is a lot later.
Yeah.
And, he was right.
And you sent him down your only copy of the record, and that was a direct from vinyl pressing then.
Yes,
printing.
It was.
What did you think of the sounds on the comparable sounds? Was it better or worse, or do you have any opinion? Jordan was our master on this, being he got to hear them both back to back at the store.
Yeah, so I was able to transfer them just direct to CD. I didn't do any EQ, did nothing, just cleaned them and transferred them. But yeah, there were slight discrepancies in the transfer, and I mean, if you're asking me to be picky, I can kind of do that.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the original pressing more than the Rockadelic, even though the copy, I mean, it's not the cleanest copy, but that's fine. I don't mind.
The original's not the cleanest.
The original's not the cleanest. Yeah. But the dynamics were wild sounding to me on the original, especially in the low end. I don't know, it seemed to have a ton of depth, and where the newer pressing seemed to have a lot of distortions in sibilants, high S's. But but the original didn't, which was strange. So I don't know why that would have.
And that would have probably been to DAT at the time, digital audio tape, which might have stretched it. I mean, because that was the one DAT was run. I was working at Wagner's, and Pro Tools was just out like that year around then, There was, a few years before that, some people had it, but I highly doubt he would have digitized it. He would have, or not digitized it, but Pro Tools, that he more than likely had something that squonked it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a different sound.
But it was a lot cleaner of a record for the pressing, obviously. For the CD digitaling, making digital copies of.
Well, but I think what they did is they tried to clean it up, because if that's the exact record, Tim, that's the exact record that Rockadelic used, is the one that I transferred, the same one.
The one you have here?
Or do you think you may have been a different one? Because to me, you would have heard the audio pops and
the dirtiness of that record.
Yeah, and you don't on the Rockadelic.
I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
But this was the mock-up, right? This is what you gave me here? This is the mock-up of the cover and everything for him that you put together?
Yes.
Yeah.
The one I sold to a guy in Florida about 2010, it was a sealed copy.
Wow.
So, he could have...
Well, the original ones were.
Right, I know, but I mean, if just so happened the guy that I sold it to was the guy that, well, actually 2010, and that came out 2001, so never mind.
The guy's still down there buying them, eh, Fred?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. No, that's outstanding. Well, hey, Tim, thank you. We'll have some more, hopefully, more music from you, because you've got some archives that you've been talking to me about, and maybe get you out playing a few songs this year, huh? You asked me about that. I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll perform.
That's great.
As long as I get some backing from some people.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Well, we have kind of a, you got an excellent guitarist and percussionist right here.
Yeah.
Maybe we can work something out here.
Yeah. We might have to get out and
I'd be willing to get involved in anything like that.
Do this record top to bottom here, eh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that what you would say, Jordan, if you had your... He loves this record.
I love the record.
Or front to back, yeah.
Front to back.
Yeah.
Is Lane still playing at all?
I don't think so.
No. I don't think so, yeah.
I was going to say you had a bass player right there. So.
Yeah. Lane said he joined you 2009, 2010 for the last sessions he played on.
Yes.
And he says he's been strumming his guitar since then, so I know he played some guitar too. So.
Yeah, he's a pretty good guitarist.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tim Ward, Timothy with 2 M's, and thank you for your history, and thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, man, to have that kind of musical depth and wonderment, and it's right here in our own area in Michigan, mid-Michigan here in Bay City. Mm-hmm. It's like mining for gold, and it might have taken you all those years to strike it, but I'll tell you what, man, it's paid off, and obviously around the world. So thanks for your music, man.
Yes, indeed. That's a great story. We're really glad to have you on tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
The MMHP is hosted on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and our own Libsyn podcast site. You can also search MMHP989 on Facebook for up-to-the-minute information, as well as both Dr. J and Sir Fred's album picks of the week, posted every weekend. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, and the Electric Kitch at electrickitch.com.
This podcast wouldn't be here without special help from Studio 163's Alan Garcia, our podcast videographer and wingman, Mr. Mike Beatty, MMHP tagline specialist, Mr. Eddie Switek, and of course, Gary Johnson, Fred Rife, the Electric Kitch, and all of our special guests, and especially you listeners. We want to thank you.
You've been listening to the MMHP and the 989. From all of us at the podcast, we want to thank you for tuning in.
When I had Black Yellow Records, I think you brought in a box of those to my store Or somebody did.
Where was your store?
Well, at the time it was in Bay City, on in the Davidson building, and then I moved it to Saginaw after a couple of years.
God, it's